AITA for refusing to bail out my sister, the family's golden child? I am 28 years old, and this story begins when I was 16. That was when I learned exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. Let me give you some context. I grew up in a pretty average middle-class suburban home in a typical neighborhood in the Midwest. 2 parents, 2 kids, a decent neighborhood, the whole American dream package. On paper, we looked like any other normal family. But behind closed doors, there was a silent agreement. My younger sister, Madison, was the golden child. And I was just there. I am the oldest by 3 years, which in most families means certain privileges for being the firstborn. Not in mine. In my house, being the oldest only meant watching Madison get everything I did not have, with the added bonus of being told I should be grateful for the life lessons that came from getting the short end of the stick. Growing up, I noticed the pattern, even if I did not fully understand it yet. Madison got the biggest bedroom when we moved houses. I got the one facing the street that was noisy as heck every morning when traffic picked up. When I asked why, my dad said something about me being older and more mature, so I could handle the noise better. Very convenient logic, Dad. And the bedroom thing was just the beginning. When I wanted to join the baseball team freshman year of high school, my parents said I would have to pay for my own gear and fees. Too expensive for the family budget, according to them. 2 years later, Madison wanted to get into competitive dance, and my parents paid for everything. The classes, the costumes, the competition fees, the trips to out-of-state tournaments. When I pointed out the double standard, my mom said dance was really important for Madison's development, while baseball was just a sport. Christmas was another joke. I got practical gifts, socks, school supplies, maybe a $50 gift card if I was lucky. Madison got the newest phone, designer clothes, and whatever electronic gadget she had wanted. My parents would say I was older and did not need as much, or that I was harder to shop for. Translation: they did not care enough to put in the effort with me. Madison got a laptop for high school because she needed it for her classes. I used the family desktop computer in the kitchen until I was 17 and saved up enough to buy a used laptop from a kid at school. My parents said that would teach me the value of money and hard work. Funny how Madison never needed those particular life lessons. When report cards came out, I always brought home excellent grades and got a simple good job. Keep it up from my parents. Madison brought home average to low grades, and they still took her to her favorite restaurant to celebrate her improvement and effort. Meanwhile, I could go from a 95 to a 99 in a class, and it went completely unnoticed. No dinner, no recognition, just the expectation that excellence was my baseline. I stopped showing them my report cards after sophomore year. Nobody noticed, literally nobody. For the rest of high school, I could have been failing every class, and they would not have known because they never asked, but they tracked Madison's grades like her academic performance was a competitive sport they were betting money on. But the real wake-up call, the moment that crystallized everything, came on my 16th birthday. 2 weeks prior, I had been dropping hints about getting a car. Not even a new one, just something reliable to get me to school and my part-time job at the local grocery store. I had been saving money from work specifically to help with insurance and gas. I had it all planned out in my head. I had even researched which used cars were the most reliable and affordable. My birthday fell on a Saturday. My parents took me to breakfast at a diner we used to go to sometimes. Halfway through the meal, my dad slid an envelope across the table with a weird, proud smile on his face. I opened it expecting car keys or maybe a certificate for driving lessons. Instead, I found a bus pass, a monthly city bus pass, and a printed route schedule. I just stared at it for a second thinking it was a joke, like the real gift was coming next. But my parents were watching me with expectant faces, waiting for me to thank them. A bus pass, I said. It was not even a question, I was just stating the obvious. My mom nodded enthusiastically. We know you wanted independence to get around, and this is perfect. Now you can get anywhere in the city. It is actually more environmentally friendly than driving, my dad added, as if he were doing me a huge favor. Plus, it will teach you responsibility and time management. You will have to plan your routes and leave early enough to make connections. I looked at both of them expecting that at any moment they would say it was a joke and my real gift would appear. It never happened. Most kids your age do not get cars handed to them. My mom continued with that lecturing tone I had come to hate. Your father and I believe in earning your way in life, not having everything given to you. This lesson is worth much more than simply buying you a car. The punchline. My dad had literally received his first car as a gift from his parents when he turned 16, a cherry red Mustang that he still talked about at family gatherings. But when it came to teaching me about earning things on my own, suddenly that no longer mattered. I thank them because that is what you do when you are 16 and still believe your parents might change if you are grateful enough. I used that bus pass every day. I left an hour early for my 4-hour shifts at the grocery store. I stood in the rain waiting for transfers. I studied on the bus. I did homework standing up while holding onto the overhead rail, and I missed countless outings with friends because the buses stopped running early on weekends. And you know what? They were right about one thing. If it taught me anything, just not what they thought, it taught me that I was on my own. Fast forward 3 years. I am 19. I work full-time while attending community college because I could not afford anything else, even with my scholarships and part-time job. I had moved out at 18 into a tiny studio apartment that was basically a closet with delusions of grandeur, but it was mine. Madison was about to turn 16. I got a text from my mom asking me to come to dinner that Saturday. Family dinner, she called it. I should have known something was up. My parents only hosted family dinners when they wanted something, or when they were about to make an announcement that would somehow screw me over. This time it was the latter. I arrived at 6. The smell of roast hit me as soon as I walked in, my dad's specialty, which he only made on special occasions. Red flag number 2. We sat down to eat, and the conversation was weirdly normal for the first 20 minutes. My parents asked about school and work. Madison talked about her friends. Nobody mentioned anything unusual. I was starting to relax, thinking maybe this really was just a normal family dinner. Then, my dad cleared his throat in that way he does when he is about to say something he thinks is profound. So, Madison's birthday is coming up, he started, as if I did not know when my own sister's birthday was. And your mother and I have been talking. 16 is a big milestone. I nodded as I took another bite of roast, waiting to see where this was going. We have decided to buy her a car, my mom said, smiling at Madison as if she had just announced her daughter won the Nobel Prize. I stopped chewing. A car, I repeated after swallowing. My voice came out flatter than I intended. A Toyota Camry, my dad said proudly. A 2015 model. Very reliable, safe, good on gas. We found a great deal through a friend of a friend. Madison was practically bouncing in her seat. It is silver, and it is so pretty. I already picked out seat covers and everything. Great, I interrupted, looking at my parents. Really great. My mom must have noticed something in my tone because she chimed in quickly. We know you might have some feelings about this given your situation when you turn 16. But Madison needs a car for her activities. She is on the dance team. She has rehearsals and competitions. And it is not practical for us to keep driving her everywhere, my dad added. Sure, because the city bus system, which had been good enough for me to get to work, was somehow not practical for Madison's dance rehearsals. You had the bus, my dad added, as if he had just made a great point. That worked out fine for you. Different kids have different needs, my dad finished as his closing statement. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to ask them if they heard themselves. I wanted to point out every double standard, every time they chose Madison over me, every excuse they made to justify why she deserved more. Instead, I finished my roast in silence, congratulated Madison on her upcoming birthday, and left right after dinner. I had an early shift the next morning anyway, and needed to catch the last bus back to my side of town. 2 weeks later, I saw the pictures on social media. Madison posing next to her silver Camry with a huge bow on top and my parents on either side smiling like they had just changed the world. The caption said something about dreams coming true and the best parents in the world. I did not comment. I did not like it. I just closed the app and went back to studying for my midterm economics exam. But before opening the book, I stared at the blank screen for a few seconds. That was the moment something broke inside me. I stopped expecting anything from them. I stopped waiting for them to notice the unfairness. I stopped trying to prove I deserved the same treatment as Madison. I just focused on getting ahead and moving forward. I worked 40 hours a week while carrying a full course load. I survived on ramen and day-old baked goods I got at a discount from the grocery store. My manager felt bad for me and let me take whatever was about to be thrown away. I ate a lot of stale bagels and questionable donuts that year. My schedule was brutal. I woke up at 5 in the morning to study before my 8 o'clock class. Classes until noon. Then work from 1 to 9, sometimes until 10 if someone called in sick. I got home around 10:30 if the bus connections lined up, at 11 or later if they did not. I did homework until 1 or 2 in the morning, slept 4 or 5 hours, and started all over again the next day. Weekends were worse. I worked double shifts on Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes 16 hours straight. I carried textbooks and studied during my breaks. I typed entire papers on my phone while standing at the register during slow moments. I took exams with my eyes burning from exhaustion and my feet aching from standing all day. I took out minimal student loans because debt terrified me. I had seen too many people crushed by those payments, so I worked myself to the bone to avoid that fate. Every extra dollar went to tuition or savings. I had a spreadsheet where I tracked every expense. I knew exactly how much I could spend on food each week, usually about $30. That is roughly $4 a day if you do the math. My apartment was a studio of about 300 square feet. The heater barely worked in the winter. The AC did not work at all in the summer, but it was mine. Nobody could tell me I had to pay rent while my sister lived for free. Nobody could lecture me about earning my way while they handed everything to someone else. My parents never offered to help, not with tuition, not with rent, not with anything. And honestly, after the car incident, I did not want their help anyway. It would have come with strings attached, sermons about responsibility, and speeches about earning your way, while Madison kept receiving gifts wrapped in praise. Meanwhile, Madison was living her best life. She went to a state university on my parents' dime. They covered her tuition, room, board, textbooks, everything. She joined a sorority. She went to parties every weekend and posted pictures from spring break trips, concerts, and shopping sprees. When I pointed out the financial disparity once during a particularly frustrating family dinner, my mom got defensive. "We are helping Madison because she is focusing on school," she said. "You chose to work and go to community college. That is your path." I chose it because it was my only option. But sure, Mom, let's call it a choice. By the time I was 23, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in business administration, debt-free, with no help from my family. Just 4 years of grinding while watching my parents fund Madison's extended adolescence. I got a job at a regional accounting firm. I started at the bottom as a junior accountant. The pay was not amazing, but it was stable and offered room for growth. I kept living simply, kept saving, kept my head down, and worked. Madison graduated a year later. My parents threw her a massive graduation party, rented out an entire restaurant, and invited everyone they knew. She got a Pandora bracelet, gift cards, and cash. I could not help but remember that when I graduated, I got a card in the mail with $50 inside and a congratulations on your achievement written in my mom's handwriting. No party, no celebration. They said it was because I had made it clear I was independent and did not need their validation. Funny how my independence only deserved to be celebrated when it meant they did not have to spend money on me. After college, Madison moved back home rent-free. She was obviously figuring out her path and exploring her options, which apparently meant working part-time at a boutique while my parents covered all her expenses. She also tried to become an influencer or some nonsense like that. By then, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment. Still modest, but much better than the studio. I had received a promotion to senior accountant. I was building my career, my savings, and a life that had nothing to do with them. The family group chat was a constant reminder of the gap. My mom would send pictures of meals she cooked for Madison. My dad would share articles on career advice for young professionals and tag Madison. My accomplishments at work got a thumbs-up emoji. If I was lucky, I stopped sharing my wins in the family chat. I started replying less and less. They did not notice or did not care. Then, about 2 years ago, things started to change. I got a promotion to accounting manager at another firm. Better pay, better benefits, and a real career path. I bought a condo. It was not huge or luxurious, but it was mine. My name on the deed, my mortgage, my adult victory. I posted a picture of the keys on social media because I was proud of myself. My parents did not comment. Madison sent me a text that just said cool, accompanied by a thumbs-up emoji. Meanwhile, Madison's influencer dreams were not exactly panning out. Turns out, posting pretty pictures does not pay the bills unless you have real followers and an audience that actually engages with your content. Her part-time job at the boutique was not enough either, but she had a solution: spend more. She started buying everything. New clothes for photo shoots, professional camera equipment, ring lights, backdrops, a new laptop because the old one was too slow for editing. And of course, she needed to keep up appearances, regular appointments for hair, nails, lashes, everything. My parents funded every expense, calling it investing in her future and supporting her dreams. It did not matter that those dreams were costing them thousands of dollars a month with zero return. I stuck to my own business. I focused on my career, dated occasionally, went to the gym, and lived a quiet, stable life, no drama, no debt, and not depending on anyone. Then the call started. First, my mom wanted to know if I could lend Madison $2,000. Just temporarily. She had had some unexpected expenses. I told her no. Then my dad called. Same request, different approach. He tried to use the family loyalty argument. We help each other out. I reminded him that nobody helped me when I was eating ramen 4 nights a week. I still said no. Then Madison called crying. She said she was going through a tough time, that I was her big brother, and I could not just refuse to help her, even if it was just this once. I asked her what the money was for. She said she had maxed out her credit card and needed to make a payment. I asked what she had bought. She got defensive and said it was none of my business. I told her no. The call stopped for a while. I thought maybe they had found another solution. Maybe Madison had finally gotten a full-time job. Maybe my parents had used their own money for once, but it was none of that. 6 months ago, I got a text from my mom. Emergency family. We need to talk. Can you come to dinner this weekend? I almost did not go. The last few times they had used the family card, it had been to ask me for money or to guilt trip me for not being closer. But something about that text felt different, more urgent. I arrived on Saturday night. My dad opened the door and looked older than I remembered. Tired, stressed. We sat down to another family dinner. No roast this time, just Chinese takeout spread across the table. Another bad sign. Madison was there looking subdued, no phone in her hand for once, not talking about her latest photo shoot or drama with her friends. We ate in awkward silence for the first few minutes. Finally, my dad put his fork down on the table. We need to discuss some family financial matters, he said in his serious business voice. I waited for him to continue. Your mother and I have been supporting Madison for the last few years while she gets established. We thought it was the right thing to do to give her a foundation to build on. I bit my tongue and nodded. But the situation has gotten out of hand, my mom chimed in. She looked at Madison, who kept staring at her plate. Madison has racked up significant debt, my dad said bluntly. She owes $65,000 spread across 5 credit cards, a car loan that is worth less than what she owes, and a personal loan from the bank. I almost choked on my Kung Pao chicken. How did this happen? I managed to ask. It turned out it was not just the influencer equipment. Madison had been living way beyond her means for years. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, weekend trips, concert tickets, all on credit, because she assumed she would pay it off when her social media career took off. Spoiler alert, it did not take off. She had 2,000 followers on Instagram, mostly bots. 0 sponsorships, 0 income from content, just debt upon debt upon debt. We have been helping her with the minimum payments, my mom said. But we cannot do it anymore. We have depleted our savings. We had to take out a second mortgage on the house. This just kept getting better, I thought to myself. We were hoping, my dad started. He did not finish the sentence right away, but I already knew exactly where this was going. We were hoping you could help us, that you would take over some of the credit card payments for a while, just until Madison manages to get back on her feet. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the 3 of them. My parents, who had given her everything and given me nothing but excuses and empty lessons. Madison, who had squandered every advantage while I learned to scrape by. The 3 of them were just looking at me as if I were their backup plan, their ATM, the easy solution to a problem they had created themselves. The level of audacity was astounding. They had watched me struggle for years and did nothing. They never offered help, never acknowledged the unfairness, never even seemed to care. But now that they needed something from me, suddenly we were family. Suddenly I was supposed to step up. I thought about all those nights eating ramen in my tiny studio, all those double shifts where my feet hurt so bad I could barely walk, all those times I had to choose between buying food or textbooks, every moment of exhaustion, stress, and fear over money. I thought about coming home for Christmas and watching Madison open expensive gifts while I got socks, seeing her spring break photos while I worked overtime, Hearing her complain that our parents did not understand her while they did not even try to understand me. And now they wanted me to save her from consequences she had earned all by herself. No, I said simply. My mom's face fell. Please, just listen to us. We are family. We need to help each other. Family helps each other, I repeated slowly. Where was that family help when I was working 40 hours a week and going to school full-time? Where was it when I was living off cheap food and generic brands? Where was it when I bought my condo? Oh, right. There was none because I needed to earn my way. That was different, my dad said. How? I asked him. You were capable. You did not need help. Madison does. Madison needs to learn the exact same lessons you taught me, I replied. About building your own path, about responsibility, and about having everything handed to you. Madison started to cry. I made mistakes. I get it, but I am your sister. Do you not care about me at all? I care about you enough not to keep enabling you, I replied. You dug this hole. Now you need to climb out of it. I stood up to leave. Wait, my mom pleaded. We are asking you for help. That means nothing. It means you finally ran out of other options, I said. And you remembered you have another son who you gave a bus pass to while you bought Madison a car, who you told to figure it out on his own. Well, I figured it out. And the lesson I learned was not to bail out people who never would have done the same for me. I grabbed my jacket. If you walk out that door without helping your sister, do not bother coming back, my dad said, playing the authority card one last time. I turned around and looked at him. I have not bothered coming back in years, Dad. You just never noticed. I left. The texts started immediately. Mom saying I was cruel. Dad saying I was selfish. Madison begging me to reconsider. I blocked all three of them. 2 weeks later, I got a message on Facebook from my aunt, my mom's sister. She had heard about the situation and wanted my side of the story. I gave her the abridged version. Her response was, "It is about time you stood up for yourself. Your parents created this monster. Let them figure it out." It turned out I was not the only family member who had noticed the favoritism over the years. My aunt apparently had tried to talk to my mom about it several times. My mom always brushed it off, saying my aunt was jealous or did not understand parenting. Thanks to my aunt, I found out what happened after I left that dinner. My parents tried to negotiate with Madison's creditors to get lower interest rates. It did not work. Then they tried to consolidate all her debts into a single monthly payment, looking for a more manageable installment. They did not qualify for that either because their credit history was already damaged by the second mortgage. Madison had to sell the Camry they had bought her. It was worth less than what she still owed on it, so they had to cover the difference. Now she drives a beat-up sedan from the early 2000s. The silver car with custom covers is gone. She got a full-time job at a call center. She hates it. She has to do it anyway because the minimum payments on $65,000 of debt do not pay themselves. My parents had to cancel cable, cut back on groceries, and tighten everything. My dad started working weekend shifts at Home Depot to help cover the mortgage. My mom started using coupons. Now they are experiencing the financial stress I lived with for years. The constant calculation of whether you can afford something, the fear of unexpected expenses, the reality of living within your means. And according to my aunt, they are miserable. 3 months after that dinner, I got an email from my mom. Not just any message, but a real, long, rambling email. It started with an apology, sort of. She said she was sorry that I felt hurt by their decisions. She was sorry that I had misinterpreted their intentions. She was sorry I could not see they were just doing what they thought was best. Notice the pattern. She was sorry for my feelings and interpretations, not their actions. Then she went on to explain that Madison was struggling with the debt, with work, and with the reality of adult life. She painted my sister as a victim of circumstance, of predatory credit card companies, of the influencer culture that makes young people feel they need to spend to succeed. Not a single mention of personal responsibility. No acknowledgement that Madison made bad choices, just excuses wrapped in maternal concern. Then came the real purpose of the email. She asked if I would reconsider helping, not with money directly. She had already learned that asking for cash would not work. This time she wanted me to let Madison move into my condo temporarily, just for 6 months or so. That would save her on rent, and that money could go toward paying off the debt. I read the email 3 times looking for even a tiny sign of self-awareness, some acknowledgement of the hypocrisy, Anything to show they understood they were once again asking me to sacrifice for Madison after a lifetime of repeating the same pattern. I found nothing. I replied with a single sentence. Madison built her own path to get into this situation. Now she can find her own path to get out of it. Send. The email stopped after that. Life went on. I got another promotion at work. I started a serious relationship. I took vacations in Colorado and continued living a life completely separate from the family drama. Then, about 2 months ago, something unexpected happened. Madison reached out to me, not through my parents, not to ask for money, just a simple text. Can we talk? Just the two of us. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. We met at a coffee shop halfway between where we lived. Neutral ground. She looked different, older, tired. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of the elaborate hairstyles she used to show off on Instagram. No makeup. She was wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt instead of the trendy outfits that used to seem like her uniform. Thanks for coming, she said as she sat down across from me. I nodded, waiting. I am not here to ask for money, she began, or help with my debt, or anything like that. I just wanted to talk. Okay, I replied. She took a breath. I have been thinking a lot about everything, about how I got here, about the choices I made, about how we were treated differently growing up. That really was new. I was the favorite, she continued. I know. I always knew, even when I pretended I did not, and I took advantage of that. I assumed mom and dad would always bail me out, always make excuses for me, always choose me over you. I stayed quiet. Working at the call center has been awful, she admitted. The worst job I have ever had. People yell at me all day, the pay is terrible. I come home exhausted and stressed, and I still cannot really make a dent in this debt. Welcome to being an adult, I said, not without some kindness. Yeah, she laughed bitterly. Now I get it. I understand what you went through. Working long shifts at the grocery store while studying, living on next to nothing. And mom and dad just did not care. They said it was to build character while they handed me everything. What changed? I asked. Why do you understand it now? She was quiet for a moment. I ran into your old grocery store manager. Remember Mike? He saw me trying to decide between 2 items because I could only afford one. He recognized me and asked how you were doing. He started telling me stories about you, how you used to work double shifts and still show up early, how you never complained, how you saved every penny. Then he asked how my car was running. I told him I had to sell it. He got this weird look on his face and said, "That is a shame. Your brother never even got one, and he still made it ahead." Madison looked down before continuing. Hearing that hit me. It made me realize that everyone saw it except me. Everyone knew you were treated badly. And I just played along. I took everything I was given and never questioned why you got nothing. I did not know what to answer to that. Inside, I could not find a response. I am not asking you to forgive me, Madison continued, nor to help me. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand why you walked away from us, and I am sorry. I am truly sorry. Not the I am sorry you feel that way that mom always says, but a real apology. We talked for another hour about her job, my job, life. It was not a deep or emotional conversation, just 2 people who happened to be family having an honest chat. As we were leaving, she said one more thing. Mom and dad keep asking me to convince you to come back to family dinners. I told them I would not do it. You do not owe them anything. And most importantly, you do not owe me anything. You earned the right to walk away from all this mess. I am still trying to climb out of mine. I appreciated that more than she probably imagined. We said goodbye without promises to stay in touch, without a grand reconciliation, just a mutual acknowledgement of reality. I have not heard from her since, no texts, no calls. She has respected the distance, something my parents never knew how to do. Speaking of my parents, they finally stopped reaching out about 3 weeks ago. The last text was from my dad, saying they respected my decision to step away from the family, but that they would always be there if I changed my mind. They are going to be waiting a long time because here is what they never understood. I did not step away from the family. They pushed me away. Every time they chose Madison, every time they made up excuses to justify the unfairness, every time they told me to earn my way while they handed her everything, they created the distance. I just finally acknowledged it had always been there. My life now is quiet, stable, and drama-free. I have good friends, a good relationship, a career I am proud of, a home of my own, and financial security. I built it all myself. I earned it all. And you know what? I do not have a relationship with people who only valued me when they needed something from me, and I am completely fine with that. Madison got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a bus pass and a lecture about earning my way, so I earned my way right out of their lives. She cannot drive her way out of her debts now, but that is not for me to solve. At least she had the honesty to admit her mistakes and talk to me face to face. And I respect that. Now it is up to her to keep proving that change with actions. I have my own path ahead, and I know how to walk it on my own. Update 1. Hello, I received several requests for an update, so here we go. Life has been good, really good. Actually, I got engaged last month. My future wife knows the whole family situation and fully supports the boundaries I have set. Her family practically adopted me, which feels weird, but nice. Her dad asked about my parents once, and when I explained the situation, he just said, their loss. Then he taught me how to smoke a beef brisket, best future father-in-law in the world. At work, I got promoted again. I am now director of accounting. The pay raise allowed me to finish paying off my condo early and start investing more aggressively. Madison and I have exchanged a few texts. Nothing deep, just occasional check-ins. She is still at the call center, but took a bartending job on weekends to make extra money. She says she will be paying off her debt for years, but at least now she is actually making progress. She has not asked me for help or money. She just told me she is figuring it out, and I respect that. My parents, on the other hand, that is where it gets interesting. 2 months ago, they showed up at my condo unannounced. One Sunday morning, I opened the door, and there they were, visibly uncomfortable. My dad was holding a box of pastries from a bakery. My mom was carrying flowers. "We need to talk," my dad said. I almost shut the door on them, but my fiancée was behind me and gave me a look that said, "At least hear them out." So I did. We sat in the living room, them on one couch and us on the other. My mom started crying immediately. These were not the manipulative tears from before. These looked genuine, tired, like she had been carrying all this for a long time. "We ruined everything with you," she said. "We know we failed you. We have been going to a family counselor." "I thought you did not believe in that stuff," I interrupted. They had always dismissed that idea when I suggested it years ago. "We did not," my dad admitted, "but your aunt convinced us to try it. And talking to that counselor forced us to look at a lot of things we had been avoiding for years." They went on to explain that they had been attending sessions for the past 2 months, that the counselor had made them examine their parenting decisions, that they had finally understood the magnitude of the favoritism and unfairness. "We treated you unfairly," my mom said. "Not just with the car, with everything. You worked so hard, and we barely acknowledged it. We never helped you, and you had to pay for everything on your own while we propped up Madison's life. We demanded sacrifices from you while we never asked the same of her. We know an apology cannot fix years of damage," my dad added. "But we are truly sorry. Not a we are sorry you feel hurt. We are sorry for hurting you." I sat there processing it all. This was what I had wanted to hear for years, but now that I was finally hearing it, I did not feel the satisfaction I had imagined. "And why are you coming to tell me all this now? What made you show up after so many years of justifying everything?" My dad shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "We had to take out a third mortgage. We are probably going to lose the house anyway. We are both working extra jobs just to keep up with the payments. And we realized that this is what we put on you. This stress, this fear, this constant worry about money." He paused before continuing. "The difference is that you were carrying that at 18 while going to school, and we acted like it was building your character instead of admitting that we were failing you. The counselor asked us what we thought you had learned from the way we treated you," my mom said. "We answered responsibility and independence." She looked down before continuing. "But she made us see that what you actually learned was that you could not count on us, that to us you were not as important as your sister, that our love seemed to depend on you not needing anything from us." My fiancée squeezed my hand. "She was right," my mom continued. "And we are sorry, we are so very sorry." They asked if we could start over, not go back to family dinners and pretend everything was fine, but maybe build something new. I slowly told them I would think about it. Before they left the bakery box. Inside were my favorite muffins from a place near my old apartment, something I had mentioned exactly once years ago. The fact that they remembered surprised me. After they left, my fiancée asked me what I wanted to do. The honest answer, I do not know yet. Part of me wants to tell them it is too late, that they cannot show up after years of neglect and expect me to welcome them back just because they finally understood the damage they did. But another part of me, smaller but real, wonders if people can truly change, if their apology was genuine, if therapy really helped them see what they did. I am not ready to make a decision yet. My fiancé says I do not have to do it now, that I can take all the time I need, or never reconcile if I do not want to. For now, I am focusing on my own life, planning my wedding, my career, and my future. Whether that future includes my parents remains to be seen. But there is one thing I know for sure. I will never again be the kid who accepted scraps while watching his sister get everything. I will never again sacrifice my well-being for people who would not have done the same for me. If they want a relationship with me, it will be on my terms, on equal footing. Not that love they only gave me when I met certain expectations or when it was convenient for them. Just like it happened for 28 years, I earned my way out of their lives. If they want back in, they will have to earn their way too. Seems fair, does it not? Final update. Hello, Reddit. I think this will be the last update. I got married 3 months ago. It was a small ceremony, just with close friends and my wife's family. I did not invite my parents or Madison. It was not out of spite. I just wanted that day to be about us. No tension or family drama. My parents sent a card and a check. I cashed the check and we used it for the honeymoon. I figured that after so many years of getting nothing, I had at least earned that. After the wedding, I started meeting them for coffee once a month, always in a neutral place, for no more than an hour, and with clear boundaries. The first few meetings were awkward. There were long silences and careful conversations about unimportant topics, the weather, sports, any safe subject that avoided stirring up the past. But slowly, something started to change. They started asking about my life in a way that felt genuine, about my work, my wife, my plans, without comparing me to Madison, without using it as a segue to ask for something, just out of real interest. They also told me they sold the house and moved into a small condo. It hurt them to lose the home where we grew up, but they admitted it was necessary. Now they are working on stabilizing their finances and learning to live within their means. They no longer make excuses for Madison. When I ask how she is doing, they answer honestly. She is still working at the call center. She is still bartending on weekends. She is making slow but steady progress on her debt and is dating a guy who apparently is also trying to fix financial mistakes. They seem to fit well together. Two people who made mistakes, learned from them, and are now trying to move forward together. My mom asked if she could go to one of the dinners with my wife's family. I told her no, though less harshly than I would have a year ago. I explained that I have built a new family dynamic that works for me, and I am not ready to mix the old with the new just yet. Maybe someday. She said she understood. She did not push it. That alone was a sign of change. My parents, my sister, and I are not fine. Maybe we never fully will be. There is too much damage, too many years of unfairness, favoritism, and a love that often depended on certain conditions. But we are talking on my terms, at my pace, with boundaries that I set and that they now finally respect. Madison and I get coffee every few months. She tells me how she is doing with her debt, and I tell her about work. We do not talk much about our childhood. It still weighs too heavily on both of us, though for different reasons, but we are cordial and sometimes even friendly. She is no longer the entitled princess she used to be, but a woman trying to climb out of the hole she dug herself. I respect that effort, and I acknowledge she is trying to change, even if I will never forget how we got here. And somehow, that has given me peace too. Not because the past vanished, but because it stopped defining my present. Now my energy is on what truly matters. My wife, the family we are building, and the future we still have ahead of us. Comment. Hey everyone, I wanted to share a few honest thoughts with you after reading this story. Knowing your own value changes how you allow others to treat you. Setting clear boundaries protects your heart and your peace. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is incredibly empowering. Sometimes, choosing distance is the most loving decision you can make for yourself. Healing begins the moment you stop accepting less than you deserve. Be gentle with yourself as you learn these lessons. You're worthy of relationships that lift you up instead of weighing you down. Keep building the calm, stable life you truly deserve. Let me know in the comments what stood out to you the most. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.